Hi, good morning. I would like to weigh in on this subject today of um, a pounding heart and AFib. I think that there is a big part of this that is entirely overlooked by the medical establishment. And I want to tell you my experience with a pounding heart. And that was a few years ago. I think two and a half. I went to sleep or tried to go to sleep one night, and my heart just kept pounding and pounding and pounding, and I couldn't breathe in such a way to slow it down. It just was pounding really hard, like I had rarely experienced in the past. And so by about 3 o'clock in the morning, it did settle down and I was able to sleep. But I had Medicare, and I thought, well, I woke up in the morning and I was fine. I felt a little tired because I hadn't gotten good sleep, but I just felt a little worn out. And I thought, I have insurance and it's only going to cost me $90 to take myself to the emergency room. And honestly, that was very hard for me. It was very scary. But I pulled up my big girl pants and I took myself to the ER. And that was a super good thing for me to do. And that was because I believe now that the very best medicine you're going to get in many emergency rooms, and this was in a hospital that was the premier heart hospital in Cincinnati, so that's the one I chose to go to. And so the good news is that the doctor did all the tests. I had a male nurse who was amazing. The doctor did all the tests. There's a enzyme that releases if you have a heart attack, and the doctor said after about an hour and a half and taking blood and doing all the things, he came back and said, your heart, he was actually amazed at how healthy my heart was. And I'm going to tell you how I did that. And he said, your heart is perfect. Your heart rhythms are perfect. There's no indication that you had a heart attack or anything close to that. He said, but what do you think started this? And he said, did you drink coffee the day before? And I said, well, actually, yes. And it was an unusual day because I was working and I went into a Panera to get a meal for the lady that I took care of. And I thought, well, I'm just going to get me some coffee. So I got a big cup and of full strength coffee, which I had never done before. And at the most, I drink coffee, maybe 2 cups in the morning, but they're big cups, like 16 ounces. But now I water it down so it's half calf. So I will drink a couple of cups of coffee in the morning, but it's really half the caffeine that I used to. So of course I started, the doctor also said that I was a little low in selenium. And I said, oh, but I take selenium. And then I realized after I left that I had been out of selenium for a couple of weeks. And he said, it's just a little below. It's not a problem. I said, okay, well, I'll do that. And he said, you're a little dehydrated. And I said, okay. And he said, well, I could put a bag of saline solution in your arm if you want to wait. And I said, no, that's okay. I promise I'll drink a gallon of water when I get home. Well, I didn't drink a gallon. I drank a liter, which is about 4 cups, 5 cups, through the day, because this was in the morning when I went. So I continue to do that now. Now, I want to tell you how I stopped this problem from happening anymore. And after some research, I found that magnesium is a wonderful thing for the heart. The most common symptoms of AFib or heart pounding are anxiety. And of course, when your heart's pounding, that makes you anxious. A pounding heart brought on by stimulation like caffeine. The pounding heart, your blood pressure can raise, and you also might be alerted that you're low on magnesium by having muscle cramps. And I know that even today, even though I take a lot of magnesium, if I back off, because apparently my body needs a lot of magnesium, Dr. Berg, who I follow, says you can take up to 850 milligrams a day. And I try to do that. I try to take magnesium, and I will show you what I take a little bit later. So often these symptoms and usually can be solved with taking the proper amounts of, at the bare minimum, magnesium and potassium. So that was a great, going to the ER and thinking you might have a heart problem. And that's why I went. I wanted to be sure that I didn't, and perhaps I did, but I wanted that confirmation. So in today's world, doctors as yet have not really started talking about magnesium and potassium. Dr. Berg on YouTube, who has 14.5 million subscribers at this date, and he's wonderful at showing you how to keep yourself healthy with a combination of food and some nutrients, or I call them nutraceuticals. So right now, these are the things that I take to be sure that my heart is good, my blood pressure is good, and that everything is working well. And so there are several things you can do. As I mentioned, drink at least a liter of water every day, and that constitutes 4 or 5 cups of clear filtered water, and not the stuff in the bottles at the store, because there's plastic floating around in that, so you don't want to do that. And then I take several different kinds of magnesium. I take this one, and I take this, and I don't know Dr. Berg. I'm just a subscriber. I don't have any deals with him, but this is a really, I'm sure, a really good quality magnesium glycinate. And the advantage of this is that you are receiving this magnesium, and there's different types and levels, and this one absorbs about 80%, and some magnesiums don't. And so I don't take this one during the day because it makes me sleepy. But so during the day, I use a different one, and it happens to be this one, and this is 200 milligrams. And this one I can take 2 or 3 times during the day, at least twice, and it just to keep my magnesium levels up. And this one doesn't make me sleepy, so I use this one during the day. And then in order to keep everything, and some magnesiums will affect your bowels, and the magnesium glycinate does not, but this is a life extension product, and it has 2 different kinds of magnesium, and they just release at different rates or absorb at different rates, I think. And I will take this one at night if I want to be sure that everything gets cleaned out the next day. So I use this because it cleans me out, but I don't use this every night, just some nights. But that magnesium helps me sleep all night. I go to bed at 9, I wake up about, depending, it could be 5, 6, 7. 8 sometimes. It just depends on how much sleep I need. I do take selenium because the doctor said I was a little deficient, and I had been before, as I mentioned. And I do take potassium. This is not the best form. When I run out of this, I'm going to buy a better form. But most any potassium will do. Some are better than others. So there's that. And then to keep my blood thin, I take K2 with vitamin D3. And I also take more vitamin D3, at least 10,000 IUs per day. And so I take 2 of these, and this keeps my blood thin. Now, as it happened a few years back, one of my daughters was working in a doctor's office, and she was operating a dark field microscope. And most people probably never heard of that, but it's wonderful for many things. And one of them is, she said, "Mom, please come in. I want to look at your blood. And I want to see what's going on in your blood." Not because I was having a problem, but just because she could. And I knew about dark field microscopes, so I went to her, and we had the best time. She also did a thermal imaging scan of my upper body to make sure that everything was good there. And so that was wonderful, and that turned out really well too. And the dark field microscope, I actually got to see my blood. And I was the customer service manager for an online nutritional company for about 5 years. And this company, which is not in existence any longer, they just closed it because the founder was in his 80s and he didn't want to do the business anymore. So I knew that was really helpful to the blood and cleaned the blood and kept it gorgeous. So when we did the dark field microscope, after I had been doing that for years, and that is no longer available, but you can get a similar formulation on Amazon. It's called Proenzyme 1. And it's about $40. And I don't have any of that right now, but I try to take like one of those at night. And that will keep your blood clean. And then this D3 and K2, or just K2, and then the best form of this, this is more of a synthetic version, and the best form is called MK7, and that's a natural version of K2, and it's the best. And I don't have any of that right now. I bought this because it was a better deal. So she looked at my blood and she said, "Oh, your blood is just beautiful. All of your cells, your red cells, your white cells, they're all just perfect and gorgeous and plump." And so, of course, that made me very happy too. And so I continue to, when I can, to do the proteolytic enzymes, they're called, Proenzyme 1. And on Amazon is where I find them. And that's very helpful too. So you can, I don't have the pounding heart and I don't have the muscle cramps, as long as I keep up with the magnesium. And I think as we get older, and I think this is why a lot of people have problems, is that we use up those natural stores of magnesium in our bodies. So if you go on a magnesium regimen, and also Dr. Berg has done many videos about this subject, and one of the more recent ones is called 9 Hidden Magnesium Deficiencies at Dr. Berg, B-E-R-G, on YouTube. And if you want to try these things, and I know most people don't want to bother, but believe me, when you get older, my opinion is I need to bother, and you will be happy if you do the same. So God bless. I hope this is helpful to you, and please check out Dr. Berg, and just almost any subject, anything that's going wrong. If you type that into the search engine for Dr. Berg, there'll be a video and he will explain it to you in a much more natural and helpful way. So I highly recommend that you check in with him if you don't know about him. And God bless, and talk with you later. Bye-bye.